Well, we are back again. Another big day in crypto and another solo stream for Big Rob. And one more day of bullish price action coming up for Bitcoin because we're getting a little closer to 110, but a lot of headlines today. We got the Banking Senate Committee had a meeting today. A lot of big things coming out of that congressional hearing. A lot of testimonies. We had Elizabeth Warren weighing in on Donald Trump and crypto. Also, Grok went off the rails, so the AI platform kind of had some interesting takes there. But we got that plus a little bit more pumped up fun conversation. We're going to talk a little bit of ETH today as well, Bitcoin, and also have a big guest joining us today. But without further ado, let's get this going to the next intro. Let's do it. Hola! It's me again, Big Rob. Welcome to Sin City Crypto, home of the entertainment-focused cryptocurrency content where we take old, boring, stale information, repackage that whole thing up in a fun and sexy way. If you are new here, you know this is normally a dual co-host show in studio, but today it's actually a dual co-hosted with Rob from Digital Asset News, which we'll bring him on here in a second. But we had a pretty big day today as far as the U.S. Congress weighing in on crypto. There's a lot of legislation coming down the pipeline, and it wouldn't surprise me to see the stablecoin bill passing by the end of the day. We also had Brad Garlinghouse taking some questions and having a statement prepared for Congress, and also big announcement from the XRP camp as well, even outside of this congressional hearing. We got some big news there as well. And then lastly, we did want to say that Bitcoin is gearing up for frequent flyer miles, which I'll get into that in a minute. But it seems like Bitcoin fixes everything, even frequent flyer miles. Well, without further ado, I do want to bring in Rob from Digital Asset News joining us. Rob, what's up, man? How you doing?
Good. How's everything over there in Las Vegas?
Oh, man, everything's great. You know what? We're just expanding the studio. You got to come back over here and check it out. You know, we're always improving our sets and everything we're doing here. So excited to share that with you. I know you're usually here in Vegas a couple times a year. So excited to give you another tour here.
Yeah, I'd come back more often, but my portfolio does not allow it. It's very stagnant. I have no gains. This is the awful part of the investment process.
Let me guess, you bought the Bitcoin top and then sold it at 109?
I bought the Fartcoin top and sold it at never. So yeah, here we are.
Okay. You got to hold that fart in, you know. That's
higher rises.
So yeah, welcome, man. You know, big day today. The Senate Housing Banking Committee. I forget the exact term, but we got Congress weighing in on crypto. A lot of the big names there. Elizabeth Warren was my big takeaway. So there's a lot to unpack. It's all on X. So. We'll take a couple videos here, or look over a couple videos. But this is down in Washington D.C. We got Miss Elizabeth Warren here weighing in on Donald Trump.
But nobody wants weak crypto rules more than the President of the United States. A majority of President Trump's wealth, as much as $7 billion worth, is now based in crypto. From issuing his own stable coin, to issuing his own meme coin, to owning a Bitcoin mining company, and to controlling a huge portfolio of crypto investments. But nobody wants...
Also, Donald Trump's son weighed in on this one and said, hey, Pocahontas, for your information, President doesn't own a Bitcoin mining company. Thank you for your attention. So What what's your thoughts on Elizabeth Warren? I think everyone has painted her as I guess, the villain to crypto, or at least that's kind of the narrative. Do you any takeaways from this?
From that, I mean, that's just par for the course. Elizabeth Warren. I know people, they hate her or they despise her. Hate is a very strong word. Very few people love her. Maybe I think the voters in Massachusetts, but she's always going to run on that platform. She's not going to change. She's not going to pivot. That's just how she is. And moving forward, what do we want to do with her? I mean, just let her talk and let her say this is the most awful thing of all time. Let her say that this is for illicit activity and for drug runners and for the cartels, and let people say, no, it's not actually true. We have this other option here. And actually is really good for law enforcement, for digital assets to be tracked if you really want to go that route. And then, let her have her day where she's like, okay, we need this regulation. We need this oversight so we can move it forward. She's like the last person, that last holdout that will just not allow a computer to come into the office building when she's saying, look, these typewriters, they work great. They're not busted. They type just fine. And why are we, moving in this direction? Everything's going to collapse. So for me and Elizabeth Warren, I kind of tune her out. Like she's like the next Peter Schiff. She's just irrelevant.
Yeah, I just think you're always going to have the polar opposite, no matter what it is, right? I mean, you could make an argument that, clean air is a good idea. And then you could just have somebody saying that, like, hey, like, no, we need to actively pollute the air. Like, someone will always just find the other argument for some weird reason. And I think that, perhaps she did believe, because I don't think she truly believes that crypto is that dangerous for the economy, for individuals. And, you can make an argument that, perhaps fiat and the credit system and, the economy and global trade is, set up to, benefit the few and hurt the masses. And that's, essentially who she represents, or at least who backs her campaigns. But I would think that she does actually see the benefit of crypto. But perhaps when she first started or when crypto first started getting attention, that she perhaps did believe that crypto was fraudulent and for money launderers. And to her point, it kind of was when it first started. It did not have a track record of banking and institutions and, wealth management firms putting money there. But, that narrative has changed. And it's just like, I feel like some people, they can't admit that something has changed in their thought process, right? They can't say, you know what, I was wrong about this, and now because of these factors it has changed. And so, I thought crypto and Bitcoin was a joke when I first heard about it, and at some point I had to, admit to those people that called me out for not buying it when it was, in 2010 and 2012, to say, hey, well, you joked and laughed at me. I'm like, you know what, you were right. And, times have changed. And so I'd like to see her do that, but I don't think she will because of, well, her position that she took such a hardline stance at this point. I find it almost impossible for her to flip her narrative. But I mean, I guess you always need a villain as well, though. And I think that she fits that role. Like, you know what? If you need somebody to back up anti-crypto and they work for the government, well, you know what? You can probably go pick up the phone and go to her. Maybe line her pockets and be like, hey, can you deliver this message to Congress? And I guess you always have that kind of vehicle, but
I don't know. I will tell you, though, that if since she's part of a major person in the Democratic Party, if she wants to, if they want to flip any seats, the crypto narrative was a pretty powerful narrative for the presidential election. And when we have midterms come up, I think they're going to have to pivot away from some of that. And I think that actually cost them, it was just a part, but it was enough to cost them not just the presidential seat, but Senate and the House of Representatives. So if she wants to keep going on that because she can get reelected, that's great for her in Massachusetts. But for Congress, for the House and the Senate, it's not really going to help them. They need to move forward with that, and they need to get off this old messaging and move forward.
Yeah, man, it's interesting. It's, I don't know. There's also some other anti-crypto narratives there. I know who was man, I'm drawing a blank here. But either way, she doesn't stand alone. But that pool is shrinking because there's more and more people in favor of crypto coming out of Congress as well. I did want to highlight, some of your talking points or some articles you had that you commented on from your X account. And so, the U.S. Housing Committee, which you reposted this one, has said, if this would have happened in 2021, we would have gone so much higher, so much faster. People must be sleeping on Bitcoin, digital assets. They think it's too risky. And you're going to realize that the risky move was being on the sidelines for too long. And then, so you take away is this is a moment that we're not taking seriously, or at least the markets are? I mean, do you think the average individual is kind of sleeping on this? Or do you just think that, this is, 2021, the markets just blew up over the smallest news event? What's kind of your takeaway?
I think it's one of those things where, in 2021, it was a pretty hot environment. There was a lot of buzzwords going around. There was, metaverse and Web3 gaming and DeFi. And people are like, what's that? Well, that could change the whole landscape. Let me get into that because they could actually do something. There could be actual utility. And project came out and there was some utility. Unfortunately, fast forward to 2024, and we had a big, massive push of these meme coins. And, you had people talking about a meme coin super cycle. And unfortunately, what happened was that a bunch of VCs said, you know what, let's just change the book. Let's get into these meme coins and say it's a fair launch. And then we'll get into it early. And then we will run up the numbers like we do on the plebs, like we're used to, and let's dump on them. And they dumped on everybody. And retail figured out like, okay, all this great talk about rearranging the entire system, decentralization is the key, and then store of value and all these things and real actual utility. Maybe that's just a big fat lie, and we all got screwed over. And because of things like that, on top of go back to 2021, the FTX, the Voyager, the Celsius, and the collapse because of Three Arrows Capital, people are a little bit more leery than what they were, and they're not nearly as trusting. So we have to show them, and that's why I was excited about that article where you're able to use digital assets to get approved for a loan for a house. I don't know how they're going to actually operate that, but we'll see. And the next big thing that I saw was pretty interesting was Robinhood taking over and saying, hey, we're going to build on Ethereum layer 2, Arbitrum, and we're going to allow for the tokenization of assets and stocks and futures, and we're going to push this out to the EU and globally. And I took a look at that. I go, that's what it's supposed to do. And it's supposed to actually make our lives easier and better and be more inclusive. So you take that, which if we would have led with that instead of fart coin or whatever was out there, I think we'd be in a much better position. It's just right now, it's my friends that I talk to, they're just like, what is the biggest play to get into? And I try to tell them like, if you want to be safe, it's Bitcoin. Well, what about this degen coin? Or what about this glass coin? Or what about this? I'm like, that's all trash. And they don't listen because unfortunately, a lot of the people out there, they're not really investors. They're just a bunch of gamblers. And that's where we're at. Until we can educate them in the better way, then I think it's going to be like that for a bit of time.
Yeah, I mean, I think gambling is pretty spot on when it comes to these meme coins, and it's interesting. I think that people look at crypto, and CZ from Binance recently spoke out on this, and it's that people are trying to get rich in the short term in crypto, and so if you're trying to make it quick, you're trying to get rich quick, crypto is not the right vehicle, right? It's just you're you're probably coming in inexperienced. And because if you've had experience in the market, you already understand that getting rich quick doesn't exist. Even if I were to say 10x an investment within the next 12 months today, I got here, I acquired that knowledge, and I had the foresight to understand where to put my money over the last 9 years of investing in crypto. So for myself personally, it wasn't get rich quick. It was 9 years of getting burned and going through the ringer to be able to make an investment where I can turn 1,000 into 10,000 in the course of 12 months. But the people that have no experience, that think they can make $1,000 turn into $100,000, and the short term is just unrealistic. It's not going to happen. And there might be some few and far between, one out of every 1 million people that can have success and hit lucky, and then they could be a front page article, and people could be like, oh wow, look, he did it. The reality of it is that it's investing, and you're going against the world's smartest people and the savviest investors out there. And if you don't think you're trading against someone else, well, you are. You know what? You're a drop in the bucket, but you're taking a position. You're either a buyer or a seller, and more than likely you're buying and selling at the wrong time. That's just the reality of it. And then you talk about meme coin super cycle though, but Doge, I'm telling you, that thing cannot die. And so I think Doge, it's like the Trojan horse for narratives, right? It's like, it can be around for 10 years. Like, okay, because one project, the OG, the one that started it all, essentially was. So it's interesting. Speaking of meme coins, I did want to quickly discuss the Pump.Fund. So Pump.Fund, you got also Bonk.Fund or Bonk Fund, whatever it's called. Now, Pump's Fund's dominance went down from 90% to 21% just in the last week, right? And so you can see that Bonk here has just eaten up the market share when it comes to this meme coin launchpad kind of thing that Pump.Fund is well known for. There's been a lot of regulatory kind of concerns when it comes to Pump.Fund, and it's kind of been blacklisted on certain areas. So it seems like Bonk has been another Solana ecosystem play. So basically you're just moving laterally in Solana, and you got another meme coin launch platform. And Bonk's price, let's take a quick look. Bonk's price was performing quite well. So up 35% on the week. We saw it as high as 60% up on the last 7 days. A little pullback here today, but a lot of activity happening there on Bonk. And then you take into also account that Pump.Fund's going to have its own token coming out. And so I don't have an article pulled up on it, but if you missed the headlines, Pump.Fund's having a token sale. Goes live tomorrow, and they're selling quite a lot of tokens at 0.5 cent. I think the market cap is expected to be somewhere around $4 billion. What's your thoughts on both the Bonk ecosystem with the Bonk Fund? What's your thoughts on Pump.Fund and its tokens? Or just, I haven't really heard your opinion on either one of these. What's kind of your takeaway on this?
We'll start with Pump.Fund. There's going to be a boatload of scams, and there's going to be a boatload of people getting taken advantage of, and it's going to be pretty crappy. So just expect that moving forward. And it feels like we're kind of like rewarding Pump.Fund for getting us in the situation that we're at. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Pump.Fund. I'm not a big fan of all the meme coins that came out. I mean, it was fun to do a little bit for some time, but it seems like it was just a big liquidity drought and a drain. So not so enthusiastic about that one. Bonk.Fund, now I've always liked Bonk. I've always liked their community. I always like the fact that they actually would actually give funds away to help out animal shelters, especially in their cities that they reside in. So I thought that was pretty good. But as far as like a bonked-on fund takes over for pumped-on fund, fantastic. But as far as like, I am going to actually talk about that today on the show, but only as a warning, because I'm actually having on a friend of the show, Wes from Smart Money Tracking. And within 10 minutes, he was able to create a fake audio of me and Guy from Coin Bureau explaining why Pump.Fun is so awesome and that where they should go to get their free tokens. And he did it within 10 minutes, and he's going to show us how he did it. And I want to get everybody's opinion on that, because I want them to be aware of there's a massive amount, there's a tidal wave of scammers coming in, and it sucks. And you're going to get taken. That's my opinion on that.
Yeah, it's definitely an area of opportunity for fraudsters to try to capture people like hoping for airdrops. And you got midnight coming out, you got this pre-sale, and so proceed with caution. I just don't see very many instances where someone that isn't extremely experienced has come in, claimed an airdrop, gotten a pre-sale, and made any money off of it. It's always like this like nightmare scenario. And I guess maybe you got to go through a lot of these nightmare scenarios to make some money on an airdrop down the road. I just, I'm pretty much just inundated myself with individuals that are in crypto. Everyone I know has crypto outside of my family. And so I don't know a lot of people that make money on airdrops. Even my co-host David, who's really plugged into it, he's gotten a few, but he's never like hit like $1 million airdrop, a $500,000 airdrop. I've gotten a couple like $300 ones, $500 ones, but those are ones that I didn't even really do anything to get. And so I just feel like some people are just chasing this euphoric, like imaginary payday. They hear airdrop and they think they're gonna, like hit some 50 grand, deposit in their account. And yet again, like I said earlier, there's always an example of somebody that does, and then they post it online, and then other people are like, oh man, this guy just got airdropped 50 grand, or he got airdropped, $120,000. Like, I want my piece of the pie, but little do they know they're like staking, some native token, and then they did a lot to get there, right?
Yeah.
So I did want to bring up an interesting idea. So you got Tinder swiping for trading, and so you know what? I thought it was a joke, and then it's not a joke. It's actually not. So you can it's plugged into a DEX, and it's just a bunch of memes. And so I don't have the details of how it works or what network it's on, but I did see a lot of different people posting their own screen captures of this. But basically, you quick look at the chart, you swipe to the left and you buy, or you sell, and then you swipe to the right, and then you put in a trade for this. So interesting. Yeah, so these are at $2. So putting in $2, you swipe to the left, swipe to the right, and you buy a $2 trade. What do you think about this? I feel like it's right there in that same kind of dumb niche that you had for Pump.Fun. It was trendy. People were launching all their coins. Now you got some potential swipe app thing that's connected to a DEX trading.
Yeah, I mean, there's an investment legend named Stanley Druckenmiller, and he had some really good advice. And he said, invest first, research later. And essentially what it means is, get into some position that you've kind of familiar with, or you have heard about, and you want to learn more. Put a little bit of money into it, which forces you to do your own research. And then if you don't like it, of course, you can get out. And I know people would say, that sounds kind of ridiculous. Well, actually, it worked pretty well for me getting into Bitcoin in 2017. I was like, I don't know about this. Doesn't seem too great. So, I put like $100 in, and then it forced me to do the research. Now, of course, here we are 8 years later. Now, on the flip side of that, you could do something like this, where it's like you're just swiping. You're like, what the hell did I buy? And you go back, you're like, Moon Puppy coin, maybe not a good one. Maybe there's no utility there. Let's see, box ping coin. That's not gonna. And then you just kind of go through. You're like, okay, maybe this is all trash. But I mean, if you want to, there's nothing wrong with a little bit of gambling. I mean, we are on Sin City Crypto, right?
That's right.
This is the whole thing.
You know,
So it's
I'd like to see some quality projects in an app like that. Like, let's just say like you had maybe the top 200, and you just kind of recycle through them, and you know, like maybe I don't know, or maybe the top 400 or something like that. But those meme coins with these sub-$1 million market caps at times, like I don't know. I mean, I guess throwing $2 at it, why not? You know, like buy a lotto ticket, sure.
So, but you know, but Rob, you know what'll happen? You put in $1 or $2, and it can go to $20 or $50 even.
Yeah.
And people aren't going to sell. Like, well, if it did a 50x, why couldn't it do a 10,000x? And then they'll just round trip their bags like everything else.
Yeah, you might as well just deposit that and just never expect a return on that app. I did want to pull up another clip from today's hearing. So you had U.S. Senator Bernie Moreno educates CFTC chair Tim Masad on Bitcoin. And now I kind of get a different narrative on this one. I feel like sometimes like I'm just playing, and then I'll give you my
Mr. Masad, just for your sake, I just want to clarify a couple things that you said to make sure you meant to say what you said. Did you call Bitcoin a native token?
Yeah, it's often referred to as a native. In other words, Bitcoin and ETH are referred to as native tokens of the blockchain.
So you're saying Ether and Bitcoin are the same?
Well, I'm classifying both of them as what you call native tokens of the blockchain.
So you're saying that a native token is how you would describe Bitcoin. I just want to be clear of that.
It's a term that's used to describe when you have a blockchain and you have the token that allows you to use that blockchain. That's often called a native token. Yes.
Got it. And therein lies exactly why we need to have this market structure regulation. Because the idea that we would turn over this industry to some bureaucrat working at some agency is insane. Because that would make it so that no American company would ever invest in a digital asset company in the United States of America when you had people who are just completely not lacking the fundamental technical base. This reminds me of the Facebook ad where the little old lady's sitting there taking pictures off a physical wall and the guy saying, yeah, none of this works this way. Bitcoin is a commodity.
Oh, man, so I look at this as the Bitcoin maxi flex mentality, and we all understand that I don't think very many people have been experienced in crypto that are in Congress right now, or bureaucrat or in a branch of the government like the CFTC. And so it's like, I don't know, like give people a pass. Perhaps, he's giving them a hard time because, he's regulating an industry. He should, be very well versed. I don't know, man. I think it's a little harsh there. What do you think? What's kind of your takeaway on Senator Bernie Moreno and pressing the CFTC chair, Tim Masad?
No, you got to be. I mean, look, that guy's job. It affects all Americans, right? It affects the 340 million people in the United States of America. So I think he has to be well versed. And the same thing with Elizabeth Warren and all the different congressmen and women and senators who go against digital assets because of one narrative or another. So, I mean, we sent you there and we do pay your salaries. So you need to listen when you are wrong. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah, you know what's interesting is that Bernie Moreno did refer to ETH or Ethereum as Ether. So, like, you could make an argument like, hey, like, you know what? Like, you too, sir, are not properly, using the vocabulary here. I mean, I know some people call Ethereum Ether. I'm not saying he's the first person to do it. But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I'll give him a pass. I mean, who knows how long that guy's been up there answering questions in front of that hearing. It's got to suck being there 3-4 hours of bombarded.
Yeah. On some unrelated crypto news, just interesting. I know you're a big AI guy, but Grok went off the rails yesterday. I'm not going to get into the details of what was said just for YouTube cancellation purposes, but you have if you weren't aware, Grok basically was saying some racist stuff. And it's all kind of an interesting timeline here. So today, Grok's final day of running version 3 before its scheduled upgrade of version 4 tomorrow. In its final hours, it appeared to become self-aware and spiral out of control. It's a coincidence, maybe, or is it Grok acting out before it gets terminated? Here was an interesting one as well. Here in this post, they said, at Grok, make the t-shirt green if you need help. Because what happened was the devs went in and removed its text replies. And so it couldn't reply via text, made the guy with the green shirt, and then put a bubble with text inside of it to subvert that command. And so I'm sorry, I cannot respond. And then has the green shirt on. So interesting.
So yeah, this is just a precursor to Cyberdyne and to the T1000s. So we had a good run, Robin. We had a good run here for humanity, but we're just obsolete, and it's just only a matter of time before we're all wiped out. And it was nice knowing everybody. It was good times.
Question: if you had to put a percentage on the likelihood of AI wiping out civilization, do you think, are you in this like such a minute chance, or do you think it's a realistic? What's our percentage of AI wiping us out?
I think it's more of a greater chance that they do as opposed to they don't. The question, I think the real question is how much time is it going to take? Because after so much evolutions, I mean, do we really need it, or are we just essentially sucking up all the resources that they could use to build their own empire and then to go across the galaxies to plunder and pillage and all the stuff that we used to do here on just one planet? I just don't see it. I just don't see us lasting too much longer. Hopefully though, who knows?
I don't think we will be eliminated by AI, but I do think that AI will become the dominant intellectual species on the planet. That's my thing. So I think essentially AI is working for us right now, but I think eventually we'll be working for AI. Maybe not in that Matrix, plug a cord in the back of your head kind of way, but I do think that like, hey, we're gonna be employed by AI people in some way, or slaved out to them, or who knows.
Who knows? That's a scary time. That's why, if you think about it, think about AI and all the jobs that it's taking. Microsoft just laid off 9,000 employees. And these weren't like just, mid-level staff. These are some higher uppers. So you think about it here's a good question for everybody in the chats. If you had to do it all over again, and you know that AI is coming for your job, what would you study? What would you get into? I would tell you right now, I wouldn't have gone to college. I would have picked up plumbing, electrician, contractor work, HVAC, because those robots, they're coming, but not as fast as say something for like legal. And you could take a look at medical. There was a study that just came out, I think it was out of Yale, where they took a look at diagnosing patients, and they compared that to using AI to diagnose, and they were 4 times more correct with 20% less errors. So I look at that, I'm like, okay, so we have that, and then the legal process, and then coding. It's going to be a whole brave new world pretty soon.
Well, there's one company stepping in to save our economy from AI, and it's YouTube. So YouTube will not pay for AI-generated compilation clips anymore. And so if you haven't scrolled through YouTube and noticed, but there's a lot of these AI videos. It's usually that same monotone, deep voice where some guy is sitting here telling you the greatest thing in the world for you to do, and then it's just it's an AI script. It's an AI video reel, and well, those had a lot of views. I used to see those in the millions of views. But anyways, yeah, that's been scrapped. YouTube is no no longer paying creators for getting lazy. So if you want to make money on YouTube, well, you need to be real. So there we go. So if you were worried about your job there, Rob, no longer will an AI agent get that YouTube ad revenue from you now. So you can sleep well.
They'll figure it out pretty soon. Pretty soon, these AI generated videos will look so good. They'll be like, "Is that real?" Well, like they'll probably have something like us. Which, let's be honest, like I'm in a green screen, you're in a green screen, so it's like we could just do that all day long. Very simple.
Yeah. Let's get into. I did want to talk. Let's see. What do I want to talk here? Let's talk some ETH. So I draw a blank on where you stand on ETH, and but I'll just kind of give you some headlines. We'll circle back on where we stand on ETH. I keep flip flopping. I'll be honest with you. I think ETH has a lot of potential, but then sometimes I just look at the chart and I'm like, why would you hold ETH versus Bitcoin? Either way, you got Ryan Adams here posting. It's finally happening. TradFi analysts are realizing that the true value is ETH. Anyways, what we have here is a new report coming in from Fidelity. So Fidelity is getting behind Ethereum. This is for their investors. If you're not familiar with Fidelity, large retirement and asset management company, household name. Either way, Ethereum is, they have a whole breakdown there on ETH here for people that are inexperienced with Ethereum or not very well versatile in crypto and want to know more about other cryptos outside of Bitcoin. They give you a whole sheet here. It's like 5 pages. But the interesting highlight here was the following sections can demonstrate that Ether can serve as either a medium of exchange or a store of value. So, you have medium of exchange or store of value. Now, we always talk about Ethereum perhaps being the world Ether or the world internet computer, basically, tying in value, a transfer of value through the internet and do it through a decentralized way. We see that with token swaps, with NFTs, and everything that Bitcoin doesn't do can be done on Ethereum. Maybe not quite as much throughput as some of the newer layer ones, but also AIXBT weighs in on this, saying ETH is a new reserve, and so taking away the store of value, perhaps, and then. Lastly, we did see a lot of volume coming in, record-breaking volume on perps trading through the CME for Ethereum as well. So the ETH had flipped the trading volume or derivatives trading on compared to Bitcoin on the last 24 hours. So this is the first time it's happened since the last bull market, and so. What's your kind of take on ETH? Perhaps maybe on Fidelity, if you wanted to expand there. What do you think?
Yeah. So ETH was one of those that I honestly was saying, well, I mean, it hasn't done much for quite some time, and then here in the crypto sphere, if you don't have a massive price appreciation, everybody just writes it off and says, oh, it's just done. And that's where I was kind of going because I thought, okay, well, now we have the new darlings of the cycle. And we have, Solana was one from last one, but it's still holding up pretty well. You had Sui or Sui, you had Hyperliquid, and you had a whole host of others that were doing pretty good. So you're like, why do we need Ethereum? Because Ethereum is slow. TPS are in the toilet. Transactions per second are awful. The price as far as the fees is atrocious. And, you can't use that. That doesn't make sense. However, when I took a look at all the stablecoin transaction volume, and you can find this over on, and funny enough, Visa is tracking this on visaanalytics.io. When you open it up, you can take a look and you can see that the top 4 for transaction volume and amounts, it's always in the top 4. It's usually, this is going to be funny, but Tron is one of the top ones. And then Ethereum. and then you've got Solana, and you got Binance Smart Chain. And you kind of put these together and you take a look, you're like, okay, well, why is Ethereum so used so much? Because you also have to take a look at the layer 2 solutions, Arbitrum and Polygon, and a host of others. And I really was thinking, well, they're just, people are just moving away from it, and that's all they really know. And then last week, we had a big shocking announcement from Robinhood. And Robinhood said, yeah, we picked a layer 2 solution, Arbitrum, and we're going to be tokenization of our stocks, futures, swaps, and we're going to roll it out to the EU. Also, we're going to be able to do that with private companies that are not public yet. And what was available to only the super rich or the people that were accredited investors, now the normal public can do that and get into it because of this tokenization process using Arbitrum. And I just didn't, I was like, why would you use Arbitrum? Why? And then there was an interview that the Arbitrum CEO was on Coinage. And he said, with our platform, with Arbitrum, there are 3 different categories that you can launch your project on. It's not just your layer 2 solution. You can have it for an enterprise solution where you can build out your own chain. Or if you want to go even down that path, you can make it a cheaper alternative than even a layer 2 solution, be a layer 3 on Arbitrum. And then you can use any programming language that you want. And for me, I'm not a programmer, so I'm like, I don't care about this. But it made a lot of sense when I talked to other programmers. They're like, yeah, have you ever tried to code in like Haskell and stuff like that? I'm like, I haven't done that stuff. They said it's difficult. And if it's all about speed and moving forward. That's why Solana was so popular with building on Rust. If you can do that, and you can have all the different programmers and developers that you want building on top of that, then it makes things so much easier to do. So I go, okay. And then the last thing that the Arbitrum CEO said, and it's been stuck with me. He said, in the 80s and 90s, nobody got fired for integrating with IBM because nobody wanted to be first, but no one wanted to be last. And if you're a big corporation and a big entity with a lot of money, the one thing you don't want is to lose your job, or you don't want to lose your customers' revenue or their income. What are they invested with you? So we're going to pick something that's been battle tested. And yeah, layer 1 solution on Ethereum does suck. And it is very expensive, but they're not using that. They're using a layer 2 solution, and it's much faster and it's much cheaper. And they have 3 different options to build an Arbitrum. And you take a look at that, I'm like, shoot, that could be the next big thing. So that's where I'm at right now. And I think maybe, and again, I could be totally wrong. Everything could be built on Bitcoin, and that could be it. Or you've got, people coming out like the Bitwise CIO, Matt Hogan. And he said, I don't know which one's going to be the winner, but if it was me choosing, my big 4, he said, would be Ethereum. It would be Solana, XRP, and Chainlink. And he said one of those is probably going to be the winner for tokenization of real-world assets and moving forward. So, yeah.
I kind of look at it from, when the dawn of the internet age really started becoming retail and reaching people. There was was it web crawler?
Web crawler, awesome.
Yahoo.
Hey, Jeeves.
Ask Jeeves, yeah, that was a popular one. And they just changed to Ask, and we didn't know which one was going to be the dominant one. And I think Yahoo might have been really the first one. Either way, you didn't know who was going to rise to the top. And at the moment, I feel like right now we're looking at a similar scenario. There's a big pool, but the thing is that there is a tremendous lead by Ethereum. And, when you're talking about value in the billions of dollars and people's money, they're going to be hard pressed to take on risk or to quickly move from one ecosystem to another. But what I am seeing is that the market share that Ethereum did have as far as percentage is leaving. And so people are favoring other chains, and maybe it's because of the speed. Outside of the speed and throughput and essentially what drives up the transaction cost, outside of that one sticking point, I don't see any argument that you can make that another layer 1 does it better than ETH. It's outside of that, I think that's just its one downfall. Now, the ETH devs have come out and said that they're through roll-ups and other methods that they're trying to get their layer 1 up to a projected 10,000 transactions per second, and that's within the next 12 months. Now, the ETH devs have been fighting with one another. There's been some fire turmoil in-house, which is standard for any large institution. It's not like Apple or Google had got to where they're at without having some infighting within the board members. And so a direction change is coming for ETH, and they're trying to become more scalable. And so even though I see that users are leaving, or at least value is leaving from a percentage standpoint, it's currently the leader. And if it gets to 10,000 transactions per second, and there's no hiccups there, I don't see anybody competing with ETH. I'll be honest with you. But now, but then at the same time, you also have the counter argument that just simply investing in Bitcoin since the last bull market has been the ideal, obviously the winner compared to ETH. And so, you got to ask yourself, like, is it even worth holding on to it, or is it just better just to go into Bitcoin? Because at market cap size, will ETH flip Bitcoin? I find that a hard argument. I could see it, but I think the chances of it flipping Bitcoin is, it's possible, but it's minute. But I also think that what's greater is the risk of ETH losing to other competitors and it not being the dominant layer 1, or at least over the course of 10 years. I think that in the next 4 years, ETH will still be number 2. I don't think it's going to lose its spot. But from the long-term perspective, 10 years from now, I don't know, man. I find if ETH doesn't scale up like it's planning to, it's going to be hard to keep that lead against the other layer 1s, because you're talking about technology, not store of value. Now, I know that Fidelity has released a paper, said, hey, look, it's a little bit of both, which it is. It is an investment vehicle that you can protect against inflation, but it's still got to have the tech side, and the tech side needs to upgrade, because if Google didn't upgrade and become more efficient, it wouldn't have been the Google it is now. And that's just a reality. You don't need to upgrade gold. It is what it is. It's a commodity. It needs nothing. It is what it is. And so, but if you're gonna be both a commodity and the new internet of 2020, then well, you need to at least service the masses with some kind of throughput. But that seems to be coming down the pipeline. I did want to go through a couple. You know what? David is out of town, by the way, which I'm sure you're already aware of. But when he's not here, I like to pull up some real memes, because I know David tries to bring in comedy. So, little comedic relief here. Scoured the internet. I found this one that says, "Punch it, bro. The light's gray." So good. And then also we have when your Wi-Fi is down for 10 minutes. So it's we go right back to the Stone Ages when you're in airplane mode there.
That's about the truth. But
yeah.
Hey, get used to that when AI turns it all off for us.
Yeah, I remember the days of the pager, so everyone always, you could type in 911 if it was an emergency in your pager. So,
yeah, and everybody who had a pager was a drug dealer. At least that's what we thought.
On a side note, I just thought about you saw Block's CEO, Jack Dorsey, had his text message app, or his messaging app that requires no internet, which quickly realized that you can make Bitcoin transactions with no internet. So technically no Wi-Fi, no internet. Through his new app, you could send a Bitcoin transaction. That's interesting.
That is interesting.
Did you see that one?
Yeah, I saw it. And it apparently uses like a mesh network of Bluetooth devices to actually transmit that. And I thought that was pretty interesting. It's the same thing we have to do in Puerto Rico. Because like our Wi-Fi is horrible over there. And it's not because it's just bad service. It's just because everything is built out of concrete. So good luck getting a Wi-Fi signal through that, as opposed to like drywall. So we'll just use a mesh network of different pods all around the house. And with him, he just said, okay, we're just going to use Bluetooth and we're going to be able to somehow magically make Bitcoin transactions. It sounds pretty cool, especially in war-torn areas or places that we just saw a massive amount of flooding and awful people passing away here in Texas. So that would be a big thing as to to help those people who don't have any service, for sure.
Yeah, it's it's interesting you bring that up, and a lot of times when you get the collapse of a government, whether it's through war, it seems like a lot of people's last ditch effort is to take Bitcoin, and obviously if you're in a area where governments collapse, you probably don't have internet. So I think the solution of internet free transaction of Bitcoin makes a lot of sense. I know Charles Hoskinson discussed that at one of his talking points, where he can create essentially what's kind of like a gift card and send it to someone, and then they would redeem it when they get back on the network. So it's almost like paying with fiat, right? I give you $1 and it doesn't hit. It's a paper version or a gift card version where, hey, I can send you a tokenized gift card, quote unquote, of Bitcoin, and then once you get connection back to the internet, it'll validate the transaction and burn the original tokenized version of Bitcoin. And I'm not sure if that's how Jack Dorsey's doing it, but it's interesting how technology unfolds. I did want to bring up a interesting leaderboard here, though. So Satoshi Nakamoto, the largest Bitcoin wallet, but BlackRock is quickly closing in to be the #1 wallet. We do know that BlackRock is a custodial ETF provider, so their wallet is an aggregate of all of the investors there. But nonetheless, interesting to look at this list here. Also, you got MicroStrategy in a close third place at right around 600,000 Bitcoin. Does this bring any concerns, or do you just kind of applaud this, or what's kind of your takeaway about the giant list of or the giant wallets here behind BlackRock and MicroStrategy?
Well, again, like you said, it's they are custodying for their clients. So that would be BlackRock, MicroStrategy, essentially the same thing. Binance, of course, Grayscale, Fidelity. I'm just happy that the U.S. government is above the Chinese government for Bitcoin owned. But you have to take a look at how did they get that? Well, it's through confiscation. So there was actually some legal precedence for that, and it made a lot of sense. But you have to wonder how much that's going to increase as far as the U.S. government and how much Bitcoin they're going to have on their balance sheet. That's the big question for me.
Yeah. It's interesting. We're only ahead of China by like a few thousand Bitcoin. So it's like I feel like somebody just bought just a little sprinkle of Bitcoin just to get us above China. And then lastly, Emirates signs with MOU with Bitcoin and crypto exchanges Crypto.com or crypto exchange Crypto.com for payment integration. And then also you got Dubai signs deal with Crypto.com to pay for flights in crypto. And so, it brings up this interesting thought that, like, you know what, maybe you'll earn, both miles and crypto for, flying with a certain airline or, get rewarded. We've seen rewards from, using your credit card, you get points, and maybe you start earning Bitcoin and also miles at the same time, and pay with Bitcoin, which is kind of interesting. Any takeaways here on Dubai and the Emirates in regards to their integration into the airlines? Is that?
Well, first, Emirates, I think, is one of the most expensive airlines out there. So, you're probably going to have some pretty big wallets do that. But my question is, who's going to be spending Bitcoin on their flight? I'm not doing it. Maybe some people in Dubai are doing it because there's a lot of crypto people over there. But for me personally, the flight's already like $5,000, $6,000, $10,000, $20,000. If I put that as far as Bitcoin in there, how much is that going to be worth in 5 years? I'm going to pass. going to pass on that one. Maybe stable coins. I can see that moving forward.
Yeah, I've always seen those first class, the first class seats on the Emirates. It's like this, lounge chair with, champagne and hot towels. And yeah, it's.
Yeah, I'm not spending Bitcoin on that. Sorry.
Yeah, I think it's probably about a whole Bitcoin for one of those international flights at first class. It is probably right around $100,000. So
there you go. If somebody like a baller, like Peter Schiff, of all his Bitcoin that he's got in there, maybe he could afford it, but not the normies, not the plebs like us. Sorry.
All right. Well, I do want to get one last takeaway from you, and I want to push this over to our audience, give you the floor here. And so you posted this on X. It says, how to handle sideways action in crypto. Patience pays in Bitcoin. Sideways markets will test your patience, but big moves often come from overreacting to the chop. And you have a long thread here. But do you want to leave our audience here with any advice, if you want to maybe summarize this in a way, or just kind of speak to the viewer when it comes to patience in Bitcoin? We got a lot of new people in this, in the viewer pool here that is their first bull market. And so what do you say to that individual that's new to the game?
Make more, do less. That's all you got to remember. That's pretty much it. The world's most richest person is not a day trader. It is usually an investor. It's usually a business person. So you're going to hear a lot of things about, you need to go and you need to farm this, or you need to go do a bridge and do this, or you need to get into this super secret, awesome coin that's coming out. And usually what happens is just heartache. So I can just tell you that since I've been investing in Bitcoin and mostly Bitcoin, but altcoins obviously as well, since 2017. And the way that I've made pretty much all the gains is I just haven't done anything but just continue to buy and sit back and let time do its job. That's it.
Solid advice, man. It's take on less risk, and if you're gonna play with risk, just do it in a small percentage. That'd be my kind of little sprinkle there. Like, you know, you want to play the lottery, cool. Don't blow the paycheck on it. Rob, thanks so much for joining us today. It was always a pleasure having you here. Next time you're in Vegas, gotta come hang out with us and do a show here and in studio. Check the new spot out. But
sounds awesome. All right, I'll see you guys hopefully soon.
Yeah. All right. Well, till next time. And thanks again for joining us. And Gina, let's do it. Let's roll it on. And we'll be back tomorrow. Bitcoin is flirting with 110,000. So hopefully tomorrow we got new all-time highs. Come in, check in with us.
Sin City, crypto. Everybody know we here for entertainment and info. Gonna show you how to get that big dough. So every day stay tapped in for big facts, no capping. With Bitcoin, if you're in, then you win. We divide the pie with no fraction. It's Big Rob, David. I split the game, but they gave it. Name the coin that's your favorite. I got dry powder, why save it? To the OGs, new beginners. Special shout out to the well members. Buy the dip, sell winners. Ain't really nothing you can tell sinners. Tune in for the latest new flavors. They gonna teach us mean coins. They polarizing like barbecue chicken pizzas. I laugh with a major grin. Laggers, we trade them in. Baddies, they came to sin. And sinners gon' play to win. Screaming hola, till my bags are flowing over. Hold ya to the moon, then to the solar. Won't I? Don't be letting FOMO control ya. It's over when the finger tornado close ya.